LinkedIn is pretty amazing at helping you grow your small business. We cannot stop your new clients from emailing you at 3 a.m. We can help you sell, market, and hire in one place. We cannot help you be in 3 places at once. And while we can't help you organize your calendar, LinkedIn can help you land more clients so you have a calendar to organize. Grow your small business on LinkedIn. Learn more at linkedin.com/smallbusiness.
Good things come in fours, like ukulele strings, boy band members, and PayPal Pay in 4. No fees, no interest, no impact on your credit score. Just the flexibility to pay the way that works for you. Strum it, hum it, pay it in 4. Download the PayPal app to get started. Subject to approval. Learn more at paypal.com/payin4. PayPal Inc. NMLS 910457.
And we're back with me, Johnny McMurray, on the On the Spot Football Podcast for yet another fantastic guest. Tonight's guest has played in England, he's played in the Irish League, he's one of the most infamous coaches in Northern Ireland, and he is also a family friend. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Seamus Heath. Seamus, how are you, sir?
I'm brilliant. I've never had an introduction.
Do you know what? I've done well.
I was very good.
I planned it in the mirror.
Yeah,
I was looking at myself. I was thinking, gotta get through to him here. I don't mean he's...
No, fair play to you. For a friend, and he was a neighbour, grew up together. It's funny to really get up and close. I've had to come to...
It's been a while.
To do a podcast.
Now, we've bumped into each other a few times.
Yes.
Doing wee sessions here and there, and you pop up all over the country. But I was out walking the dog, and
that's right.
Somebody happens to walk across the field, and it just happens to be you. A couple of kids doing sessions later on at night. Yeah. You never stop.
Yeah. But I knew it was you because when the kid miscontrolled the ball and come to you, you held it up and rolled him and then knocked it back to me.
There's no one there, though.
That had to be Johnny McMurray.
I thought you were going to say the limp. I could see you bobbling about there.
No.
But no, mate, it's a pleasure. Thank you for coming in. As I've touched on, they're family friends. My dad's in the background. He's lived a couple of doors away for numerous amount of years. But how are you keeping?
I am keeping very well. You couldn't annoy me. Loving life, living life. I can't complain. We had a weather-wise was good today, which makes it even better.
It does.
So can't complain. So even before coming down here tonight, I just finished the session there a couple of hours ago. Nipped across my mum's, quick shower, changed, and I actually feel a bit funny because I'm not normally. I was going to say the
coaching gear
dressed.
Yeah,
you know, I was going to come in it, and I thought no, I would be a bit disrespectful, so I thought I'll sort of tidy myself up a bit. So
I have to give you this. I've never met somebody who talks football more in my entire life.
I think, yeah, if you want to do something like in life, you do it right or you don't do it. Just I have a love for football. It's all I've ever done. Still got the passion. Mm-hmm. And I think when you lose that passion, it's time to get out. Okay. And I like to think I'll know when to get out before anybody has to
tell you,
tap me on the shoulder.
Yeah.
So I'm still working at all the different levels. Loving what I see. I'm very fortunate at this minute that I can pick and choose what I want to do. And I do find it hard maybe to turn down things, but if there's something I don't like, I say, thanks, but no thanks. But at the minute, I'm just loving everything that I do.
I know you've recently came out of the IFA. You were a coach there for numerous amount of years. We actually just spoke there. I done my first coaching badge with you in a wee place in Crossgar, and it was 4 Sundays. It was my introduction as a kid into how to coach people. And at that stage, you have no idea. You're asking questions. Yeah. You're trying to be open with your questions, but you don't even know what an open question is at 18. Yeah. But so nobody better to learn from, should I say?
Right, okay then. Well, I'll throw it back to you. What did you learn on the course?
Well, I learned how to actually speak is one thing. Not being shy in a situation where you're around adults that you've never met. And I think that is probably the best introduction to coaching. Whenever you go into a session with kids, you don't know anyone. You kind of have to command the presence, but you have to know the little details. I think that was one of the things that you...
Yeah, well, I was at the IFA full-timer for 25 years, involved in all the parts that we had to sort of deliver. Coach education I was very big into it, because I think if I can get 24 coaches in a room, and you're coaching them, those 24 coaches that then get out to their clubs, maybe touching on, maybe, 50 kids each a week, add that up, because not just me, but other coaches, you can't be everywhere. So I love coaching coaches, and I do enjoy over the years getting the the feedback, you're pumping into people and saying how well they've done and who they've coached, and and I've bits talking to people and they thought they knew about coaching till they come on to a course. But then again, like myself, yes, I can talk, but I'm happy and comfortable when it's in a football setting. If you were setting me maybe somewhere else, it would take me a while to maybe, you wouldn't believe this, but to maybe open up.
Yeah.
But as I say, I love the game and to talk all night about it.
One of the things I need to ask you is this the most enjoyable period now that you've sort of came out, you've got a wee bit more freedom, you're maybe not coaching as much as you would have been. Are you enjoying yourself more now?
Great question. I would say yes. The bits that we all love, I see him talking to our Ben this afternoon, and obviously he's not a football agent, but he was obviously coaching and managing, and I'd come up in conversation. He bumped into somebody the other day and they were saying to him, "Do you miss the managing?" And he said, "No, I'm the same. I never wanted to be a manager. I just find it is, we don't go in for the financial side of it. I've done well out of football, but for the financial side you get out of managing, it just takes over your life."
Yeah.
I've always preferred coaching, supporting people, supporting managers. I would say when I look back now, because I've been in it a long time, I would say what am I made for? I would probably say developing players.
Okay.
Young players. And I love giving them the best opportunity, best chance, putting them on their journey, and see where it ends up.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm loving every minute. But they're saying there, by talking Ben and that, I find with coaching, what we all love, I'm sure you've, with your own injuries and that, when you come out of the changing room, what is it you miss? You miss the training nights, maybe the build up to 3 o'clock on a Saturday, the camaraderie and what goes on in the changing room, but sometimes it stays in the changing room.
Yeah.
But just all that is just a good part of the game.
Yeah. The routine is probably what I'm finding the most now. I think it's just past a year since I've kind of stepped away completely, and I'm starting to miss that Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday game.
Yeah.
Once it's all you've known, it's kind of hard to step away. Now, it was nice for a while, and I was enjoying not having to go anywhere and stick the feet up in the cold nights you weren't out, but there's just something about it that
I think that is a part of it. And I'm bumped in, obviously, a lot of players, and I made a lot of players who are struggling a wee bit in life, because when they've come out of the game, it's all they've known.
Absolutely.
And, what do? I can't be going shopping on a Saturday afternoon. So, and then they would say to me, how lucky I am. Like, you're in a game and you're involved in so many parts. But then again, that's maybe my own sort of personality. I'll throw myself into anything. I'll go and learn, go and see. Like, even last week, I was on holiday in Spain. Ended up coaching a couple of private children. And then while you're there, all taking a match at the Real Madrid game, and while you're there, you're meeting other people.
Yeah.
And then I'm bringing other ideas back. I'm seeing what we are trying here in Northern Ireland about the 3v3s and the small-sided games. You're seeing all happening over there, but just naturally.
Yeah.
So in Spain there was, you're just walking down the road. Oh, there's a wee pitch. Be maybe 8 kids in there playing 4-side, playing just their own rules.
Yeah.
And then you see why they are so skillful.
Yeah.
And then I noticed the 2 kids I took last week, telling the story today with a couple of children and parents coaching this afternoon. Just the technical ability. That was the first thing of the wee Spanish kids there last week. Even though I already knew it, because I've been doing it quite often. But again, just
is there
fresh.
Is there a big difference at that age in Spain compared to Northern Ireland?
Yes. Now, firstly, the weather helps.
Does
the environment helps? So they're outside more over a year. But what I do find what's happening in our country, we're still too much emphasis on winning.
Okay.
So you're playing matches and it's just winning. Story I told today was the average wee kid, under 10, to be playing for anyone, and ball comes to him, maybe a centre forward coming to close him. We hear it all the time, manager, coach shouting, "Johnny, cleared, knock it out." Knocks it maybe out of play. "Johnny, well done."
Yeah.
Right. So is it well done? I don't think so.
Yeah.
What's the Spanish kids doing? That ball's coming, they're controlling it. Somebody comes to close him, they'll shield it.
Yeah.
They'll maybe roll you, go out the other way. I just find they're brought up to work on the technical side of it, be comfortable on the ball, receive it in tight areas, play your way out. A few years ago, I was actually at Valencia, and to show you how I've got onto the other side of football at Valencia, and you had all the first team players there, and tell you the truth, that said no interest, but it was, not in that. Where's the kids?
Yeah.
So I went down and spent a bit of time. It was an under 10 team. What it took out of that, 3 coaches. They were taking a wee group of under 10s, and what they were doing was not the highfalutin coaching, but one of the coaches maybe taking the wee right back away, and he was saying, right, I want you knock it out of your feet and you knock it into the midfielder. And then another coach maybe taking the midfielder away, knocking the ball into him, getting him to receive it and turn out the other way and ping it out the other side. There are the wee bits I was taking out of it. Although in saying that, it's okay me talking that. I was a big Spanish club.
Yes.
So our average club here, it's still the volunteer coach that's taking it. And that. So now we're on the subject about what are we going to do and we're going to change it. The thing that's not happening is the coaches that are taking our younger teams in this country don't get paid. So volunteers don't do it. Probably not happening. What needs to be happening? Those coaches need to be getting paid and bringing in, I'm not saying the words proper coaches, but professional coaches to coach them properly early doors. We are getting better now, obviously, with Andrew Waterworth now at IFA, building hopefully our next set of internationals. He's getting them early, but you got to even get them earlier.
Well, he's only getting them at 15, 14.
Yeah. Now he's out sort of looking earlier, maybe 12, 15, bringing them into wee development programs, but it's not really getting in them. And by that age, for some of them, it's too late.
Yeah.
So it's about, to me, catching them early, coaching them properly, and then taking it from there.
One of the things I want to ask you just before we sort of get into your incredible career that you've had in England and back in Northern Ireland as well is, for a man who's been in the game for so long, one of the big things that I take away from you is how important it is to network. For coaches who probably listen to this, how essential is it for you to be open to meeting people in conversations, because it can really, it can bring you to places that you've realistically never expected.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I just find my own football education, yes, did all the courses, was travelling and meeting people. Even 2 weeks ago, took Glentoran under 11s. I do a wee session once a week and brought in for them. So I took them on a wee trip, went over to England. I arranged it all, went and played Connah's Quay, I played Wrexham, Preston, went to Salford game. On the way back in the Manchester airport, I seen this wee thing of kits. Was it Swedish team? Okay. Me being me, went over, oh yeah, he looks like a coach, went over, introduced myself, give him a card. I said, what were you doing? He said, oh, we're at a wee tournament. I said, I had a wee team over from Ireland. We were playing at Wrexham and that. He said, very good. I said, touch base with me and maybe set some up, maybe come out and see you, or bring a wee team over. Emailed me the other day. So there's it now. Something might come out of it, something might not. But it's just those wee relationships, opportunities and taking them, where sometimes people will maybe just let something pass or bypass.
Sometimes I think that's because of where we're from. I think that different countries are very open, honest people who are more approachable to each other. We kind of take it in a different way. We're kind of more reserved, more enclosed. Don't really want to go over there in case that's not what that is.
Yeah.
It's such a bad way.
I have a lot of people say to me, how do you know such and such? Or I go, well, I didn't. I went and introduced myself. Yeah. And then I just think if you go and introduce yourself, and even I always say about kids when they're getting autographs, they always say about, some players, this, that, and the other. 99% of all players, Premier League players, all salt of the earth. Yeah. It's just how you approach it. 100%. I took a wee boy on Sunday, actually privately, just so happened over Easter, staying in Carlton House in Dublin. And I was getting all the pictures through, meeting all the United players. Right. So he come there yesterday with a signed shirt and all to show me all the bits. And he was just saying, such and such was brilliant. And Casemiro, what a lovely man. I'm going, yeah, brilliant. He couldn't believe, and even the father, he thought Harry Maguire and all maybe would just walk by you. Yeah. He said, well, once you said, Harry, excuse me. Yes, what can I do for you? 100%. Wee picture, wee autograph. Not a bother.
I mean, we're all the same. We're not at that level, but they're all humans, aren't they?
Correct. Now, maybe when I was younger, I would maybe I've looked up the ones I couldn't talk to. But I don't know, I think as I've travelled the world, you get your, not cockiness, but confidence. Yeah. You're confident to go and introduce yourself, meet people. And
You never know what materializes.
yeah.
It is so true, and I look at it now, and I think it's more so since I've started doing this, where you're kind of having to approach people because you need guests. So me having to go and speak to people or put myself in situations that I wouldn't have been in, introducing yourself, I do this. You kind of feel a bit strange at times because you're looking something, but you don't want to be. But the thing is, if you don't have the conversation, it's never going to happen.
Yes, yeah. No, I would get pretty fast. You got to open doors.
Yeah.
And you may go, I've had a few doors close on me. And just went to the next door.
Yeah.
You know, and take it from there. But it's like what I've put into my own kids. If you've got a good work ethic and you can talk, you'll not be far away.
You won't.
And I think if you're open and honest, not there to stitch people up. Like my only strap line is, if you can help, help.
Yeah.
You know, and I think people see me that I'll help anybody. I like to think when I approach them,
They'll do you a favour back.
do me a favour.
Yeah.
Even though I don't believe it, if people have said, like, if you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. I'm not in that. If I want to help someone, I'll help them. But I'm not expecting anything in return.
Yes.
But if you do something in return, I will really appreciate it.
100%. I mean, we could go on for hours. Conversations roll. We started with something and we ended up left field. And that's the way this conversation could go tonight. So I feel like we have to restrict it. We have to bring it back because we're here to talk about you.
Okay.
We're here to talk about your career. We're here to talk about you as a kid, how it happened, how it started. You getting the opportunity to go to England, trials. Talk to me. How was it?
Well, I was just an ordinary guy, brought up in the Armour Road. And at times people will say to me, oh, you're a bit hard on yourself, you're knocked yourself. I just say, I see it. Obviously, I must have had a wee bit about me.
Must have.
So, went to St. Augustine School. Was the best player in the school? No, I wasn't. Played at St. John Vianney Youth Club, Father Newbury, local priest, started up a football team. Was the best player in the team? No, I wasn't. But I will always say, even from that age, I was like the best wee pro.
Right.
Just worked hard, trained hard. Again, even then, listening to the coaches, taking in all the information. So I enjoyed playing for St. John Vianney down in Connor League. Then I got the wee opportunity to sign for Cromwell Albion.
Okay.
For people who don't know Cromwell Albion, probably one of the most famous amateur league teams ever. Won the Steel and Sons. So when I was like 15, I used to walk so I grew up actually in the Holy Land, South East Street. Then I remember dates is because when we moved into Balfour, would have been 72, 73, I started then at St. Augustine's. So when I was 15, I used to walk up Balfour, stand at the top of the street, and Henry Armstrong, famous, good man, good footballer, good man, now even working with doing a lot for charity, big Rosario man. He used to collect me and take me over to training over by Strangford Avenue. I actually thought I was going over to play for Barcelona.
Right.
That's, you're looking into people, your Mickey Youngs, and that, great players. And that, now I was only young, playing in the reserve team, got a few first team games, even though I wasn't ready, because I wasn't physically strong enough for, would you say, the big boys league.
Yeah.
So what happened then, Sammy Watson, who would be the Marmite of Northern Ireland. People like loved him or didn't love him.
Yeah.
Right. I respected him because him and my father were in a pub when the name got picked, and we're on Cromwick Street. And I went Cromwick and I went Albion. That's where it started.
Okay.
So Sammy started it, rounded up a lot of top players. Mal Donaghy played for Jerry Armstrong. A lot of people went through the club. So I was playing away there, and there was a lad, Dunlop, who was 4 years older than me, obviously a much better player. And Sammy had a wee link with Luton, so we sent him over. So I tell the story that they sent me with him to keep him company.
Okay.
But obviously they must have seen he's a wee bit about him, let him go.
Yes.
So I went over, and yes, they signed me. Now, I do tell the story. I was 4 years older than Peter Dunlop. So how I see it now with experience, Luton have looked at it. He's just turned 17. We've got maybe 4 years, maybe to make him into a player. To do the same with Peter, he was 21. You're then 24.
Yeah.
It's too late.
Yes.
So I say, very fortunate. Played in a wee youth game against West Brom. And I always remember, because it maybe wouldn't happen now, played a match, and obviously I know I did quite well, taking off maybe 10, 15 minutes to go in, having a shower, and standing there washing the bits, and next thing, David Pleat standing there. Young man, would you like to be a professional footballer? And I went, yes, sir, I would love to be.
Yeah.
He said, you come and see me tomorrow in my office. So talk about being excited. So when I look back now, you know, it is funny because next day I went and signed, but what was he trying to do was get me in the office, get me to sign a bit of paper, and I was done.
Yeah.
With hindsight, more experience, which you obviously don't have in, or even my family background, didn't have a chance to phone my dad, Dad, I'm signing here for Luton now.
It was already done.
It was already done. You'd have got probably a better deal. In this day and age, you'd have had an agent.
Yeah.
Who would have spoke, who would have spoke for
Somebody
you.
to guide you.
Yeah. So as I say, signed, and the rest was history. I was very fortunate because I had obviously went to the house, 500 metres from the ground. We Irish landlady, Mrs. Horney, what a lovely woman, lady from Carlow, and obviously Mal Donaghy. So obviously I lived with Mal there. We lived together for 4 years.
Okay.
So we were good for each other. And then the wee landlady, she was just like a second mum, wouldn't let you out the door unless you were immaculate, your shirt, and just all.
Yeah. Like a mum.
Like a mum, like
Yes.
a second mum. Now I know, like Mal would tell a story at times, you know, he wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for me. Of course he would. He had more experience, but I probably wouldn't have lasted.
Okay.
You know, away from
Home.
home.
Were you a bit of a home bird at that stage?
Well, not so much a home bird. I like travelling and all bits, but to actually go away and live somewhere else. And now, like, there's players in England, and when any free weekend they can shoot home.
Yes.
That wasn't happening
Nah, you were there, and that was you.
there. Yes.
Yeah.
And, you know, coming away from when was that then? 79. But still our troubles at home, you know, getting away from that, getting over to England. And then in England, obviously some of our troubles was brought over to there. So at times it wasn't, there was a lot going on too.
Yeah.
But went there to play football, and I will say the 4 years I had at Luton was like going to football school.
Right.
Yeah, under David Pleat, I learnt the game of football. I knew I was never going to be a Premier League player, but what I learnt under him has given me a career and a life in football. Taught me so much. Like, I started, as I say, as a left winger, and then he moved me to left back. I thought, put me left back for it, not a left back. But what it was because where I stood on the pitch as a left winger, I was standing facing more at that angle.
Yes.
He says, you're not seeing the whole pitch. So he put me back to left back to see the whole pitch, to open the game. But it's not until you get older and you start coaching that you start to see how clever he was.
Mm-hmm.
And how and I still tell the story when I'm coaching kids, getting down the line, I say, now drive it across, because it'll hit a defender forward and put it in, hit the defender goes in.
Yeah.
That come from David Pleat.
Yeah.
So all those years. So the game has changed in different ways, but in a lot of ways,
It's still the same.
it hasn't.
Yeah.
Still have to put it in one net and keep it out of the other. So as I say, I was there for 4 years, and how it still happens, you know, you're there playing over maybe 100 games in the reserves, and then they look at you and say, right, let's get him out on loan. So I went out on loan to the 3rd division, Lincoln City, and they were flying with some great players. Glenn Cockerell, Tony Cunningham went on to play at Newcastle United. Went there to play. So obviously then what Luton are doing, they're looking at you. You know, let's see, how's he doing? So played there for about 3 or 4 months, then come back to Luton. And then when you see just, you know, you're not really getting a breakthrough.
Yeah.
You know, who was in front of me was David Moss. What a player.
Yeah.
What a legend. You know, and I used to go to the Luton first team games and I didn't watch them. I just watched him. You know, like I had maybe half decent left foot, right foot, probably for standing on. He was able to use both. And obviously I would try to make myself better by using my right a bit more and practicing. But listen, it was.
Picture this, a curve in the road, a change in plans. Well, what do you say? With the all-new Audi Q3, the answer's always yes. Yes to adventure. Yes to escape. Yes to performance. Yes to comfort. Yes to right now. Because saying yes without hesitation, that's real luxury. The all-new Audi Q3, made for the yes life.
It wasn't there.
See, whenever you went to Lincoln, did you consistently play?
Yes.
And then see, as you've went back, your loans expired. Did frustration kick in at that stage, thinking that I've got the bug now, I've played at this level and I want to kick on, I don't want to be sitting?
Yeah. No, that's a brilliant question, because when you say that, here is the answer. When I went back, David Pleat gave me my debut, threw me in a League Cup match against Reading. I always remember, because Kerry Dixon was from the Luton area. I was obviously playing for Reading. And I remember coming to me after the match saying to me, "You're the best player out there tonight." I went, "No, I couldn't have been." So I don't know, I must have done okay. Maybe he was building me up a bit. But me being me, the next day, I went to David Pleat's door, the club. "Boss, I think I should be playing." And when I looked back now, I think he looked at me and went, "Are you having a laugh?"
Yeah, one game.
one game. But I think he was quite nice. He could have said, "Listen, son, catch yourself on and get out."
Yeah.
He did sit me down. He said, "Listen, you've done right there. Played well last night. You've been on loan. Let's see how it goes. I think you need to be maybe working a wee bit harder, and we'll look at it." And then, as I say, out the door I went. So obviously then,
Here, it takes a bit of balls to go in and
yeah,
rap David Pleat's door and say, "Listen, I've had one game and I should be playing."
Yeah, when I look back now, I went, "How could you do that at that age?" But I just did it, and so that was that. But then a lot of the chat tonight will come, because as I say, Luton was my learned experience. And then what was happening then, Mal and I used to come home in the summer. I said, "Come on, you have 2 or 3 months off.
Yeah.
What do you do?" Out for a wee run every day, and that. And then what I found was a lot of players were going to America to play in the summer. So I thought, I'll have a bit of that. So again, what to do? Went to see David Pleat. "Boss, I'd love to go and play somewhere in the summer." "Okay, let me I'll have a think of it and I'll get back to you." So within a couple of days, come back to me. He said, "If I'm going abroad, I want you to go to the local hotel. You meet there's going to be a chairman. Go and have a chat with him." I thought, happy days. I thought, I'm going to America. So went to the local hotel, and there's a chairman, and I forget was his assistant. Well, we're sitting chatting and all bits. "Yeah, we're looking to sign you." And my eyes were opening, because they were offered, double wages, a car, apartment, all your food. I went, happy days this. I said, "So where am I going?" "Oh, you're going to Finland." And I had to say, where is Finland? So obviously when I went home, got on
That's not in the United States.
And then I said, "So when am I going?" "I'm going tomorrow." So I went back, packed up, and away I went. So there's again, 18 years of age, away out to Finland for their season. So
was this another loan while you're still there?
Yes. You could say another loan. So obviously, when I look back now, the Finnish coaches were overlooking players.
Yes.
Players who obviously played in England. So when I agreed then, I went out then and played. But part of the deal was Luton would come out pre-season.
Oh,
so
right,
they
okay.
come
So
out
they got a
then
chip out of it
and played. And say from this story, it even gets better, because Brian Horton was skipper of Luton, and would still message me there over the weekend. So we're still sort of keep in touch. I'm very lucky, because I'm in a couple of WhatsApp groups. I'm in a Luton Legends, right?
I'm
in it, but I ain't no legend.
You up now.
I'm in a Glentoran one, and I'm not the legend. It's the others that are in it. But anyway, so they come out and play this pre-season, and yep, wee bit homesick. So fair play to Brian Horton. Took me to the side and spent about 20 minutes with me. "Seamus, you're saying you're a wee bit homesick, wanting to come back." I said, yeah. He said, "Listen, football's about making money." He said, "I know you're on probably 2, 3 times what you're getting to Luton here." I said, "Yes, I am, Brian." He said, "Well, you got to stick it out." He said, "What are you going to do? Come back to Luton, play in the reserves, maybe get the odd wee first team chance?" You know what I mean? So I didn't actually take his advice that year. I did come home a few weeks early, back to Luton, and then it was the following year when I went back to Finland. That's when you could say the penny dropped. I'd worked out my life. No, not going to be playing the Premier League. I can get a career in the 3rd and 4th division, but do I want that?
Yeah.
I've seen a better lifestyle and financial side of it.
Yeah.
So I made a sort of decision then, I'm going to make that my life. So I played then for 9 seasons at 4 different clubs. So that's what happened.
When you talk about the lifestyle change, so you're in Luton. Luton's not it's just outside London, isn't it?
Yeah, 30 miles.
You're not kicking an arse off a massive city. Do you know what I mean? So you can jump in, go to London, see the nightlife, have a good time. Obviously the wages aren't massive, but when you think about the culture change, how big was that of a difference for you whenever you were?
Well, it's funny you say that, because the 4 years I was at Luton and my mal, not once did we ever go into London.
See, I think I would be.
Yeah, see, now it's different. Like, I've been in London the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Spent a few days or even a week, obviously with a private coaching and that. But I don't know, was it just over from Ireland, the big city? Then the only times I would have been going there would have been to play games and that. So as I say, like going to Finland, just a different world.
Yeah.
Just lovely country. People don't realise, like, there's only 5 million people for a very fast country. Bits that I've taken back from Finland, and it's funny because I live in a wee village, Annacloy, for 30 years. So no carpets in the house. We've all wooden floors. Come back from Finland. I have a sauna. When I put the sauna in like 30 years ago, people thought,
You're nuts.
He's nuts, he's posh, sauna. And you can just see at the minute the craze there is about them.
Well, not to jump in here, but there's some stupid stat that there's 3 times the saunas than people in Finland or something.
What do you mean, freak?
There's 3 times the amount of saunas.
Oh, sorry, than people.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, well, everybody has a summer house. So they've one in their house, they've one at their summer house. Like our sort of, I know further on when we chat, say, about distillery, finish the match in the club, a few beers, then go down to maybe a pub in the town, have a few beers. In Finland, when we were having maybe a night together or out after a match, we had like a sauna night, big sauna, all the players in, you would have then sauna, a few beers, relax, and then maybe head out for a few hours. So it's a big part of the
Culture.
The culture. But then when you see why, you know, I was there for 9 seasons. I was never there for the 4 months. That's very tough.
Yeah.
November, December, January, February. If those months weren't so tough, I would never come home.
Yeah.
That would have been my life. But I worked it out. 40 years out of your life with 4 months so bad, dark, the snow, the cold. You know, I thought,
It's not for
no
you.
thanks. A lot of people don't realise, you know, the alcoholism, the suicides that happen in those winter periods.
Well, the correlations between sunlight, vitamin D, and
Yes.
suicide, mental health is phenomenal.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even when I used to go out, maybe the end of March, you know, I'd say, well, boys, how's it going? Yeah, well, we didn't train yesterday. It was -21. I went, oh my God. So there's how cold it was. But now how it has moved on. When I was playing out there, they wanted players who had played in England, you know, sort of professional players to come out. But what they have done over the last 20 years is produced more 4Gs, more domes.
Yeah.
So now they can play
Indoor.
So what are they doing now? They're producing their own players. So there's not as many. So even in that time when I played in Finland, Wimbledon used to offload their whole team and put them out to Scandinavia. Couple of Finland, couple of Norway, couple of Sweden, all off the wage bill. When I think of that, there would have been like 1980, 81, sort of. But yes, that's how it's gone, like sort of full circle.
Why was the wages a massive increase? Was it just to attract people to go there?
I think a little bit, but it is mostly because the standard of living was very high.
Okay.
Now, without being funny, the wages, if you had to spend out there, you could spend all your wages, but part of the deal was always, you know, apartment, your food, and that, like one of the years when I was there, well, the first year I went, I lived with the chairman, which was brilliant. Second year and third year, I used to eat just at a restaurant. And I know people will probably go, how lucky are you? But
Out every night for that.
as you know, but
Yeah.
going to eat in a restaurant, you get sick.
Yeah.
You get sick of it. Another year then, I used to just sign at the supermarket. You know, that's maybe where I got my introduction to nice steaks
Yeah.
and things like that. You know, and there's some funny stories because I always had the contract was you always had a car. So one of the clubs I played for in Hancock was a small small town, what let's say, maybe like a Newton Ards or a Bangor or a Saintfield or something like that. I said, no, I don't want a car. I want a bike. I think the chairman looked at me and went, you want a bike? I said, yeah, I want a nice wee bike. That'll do me. And that's what I had, wee bikes to cycle about. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
And then, as I said, later years, I used to drive from here. I remember, and you know, because you were brought up in Shaftesbury Avenue, packing up in Shaftesbury and driving to Larne, over to Clonran, down to Dover, over to then to Denmark, then getting from Denmark to Stockholm, from Stockholm to Gothenburg, driving from Gothenburg up to Stockholm, over to Finland. Now, bit of a 3-day camel ride.
But not a 2-hour flight.
I was able to take everything that I wanted.
Yeah.
And because I always had a little bit of a business head, I would have brought clothing and bikes, frack on and bikes. And then when I was ready to come home, I just sold everything.
Yeah.
And that's so, and maybe because then when I did come home finally to stay, I had the shopping down the road.
Yeah.
So I always had like a business head of maybe buying and selling, or you could say maybe wheeling or dealing, but I like to say buying and selling.
Whenever you're ready, your time's up near enough. You've spent 9 seasons in Finland. You've obviously had a great time. Life experiences are through the roof at that stage. Are you upset that you're coming home, or were you more than ready?
No, I think a lot of things in life, it decides itself. Okay. And that one did. And you will love the story because it just wouldn't happen now. So for the 8th season, the season run on. I forget, were we in a semi-final of the cup or something going well. And our Ben, who's now 40, was 5. So he was starting P1.
Okay.
So took him to Helsinki airport. Waved bye-bye to him. He got on a plane on his own, went to my sister's in Northampton, who picked him up. He stayed with her for a few days. She put him on a plane then from London to Belfast. My mum collected him, mum and dad. Mum and dad put him into P1. And we were home maybe about a month later. So there's what happened there. So, as I say, it wouldn't happen now.
You'd be locked up?
Yeah. Really? Well, you wouldn't be allowed to do it because they don't let you on the plane. So then I'm going to come the following year. P2, couldn't do it. The school then was important. So it was really Ben's to blame.
Okay. Fair enough.
The school year dictated education and that. So that's it, sort of itself. And now when I look back, it might have been time to call it a day. But I would have had a few good offers if I had wanted to stay.
Yeah.
But that's sort of itself. And then what I do in life is, right, what's next? And then I throw myself into whatever's happened.
The Irish League's obviously something that you've established yourself in too whenever you've came back, but what was that like? Were you more than happy then to get a club, settle down, focus, or was there multiple clubs coming to you saying, Sheamy, we know you're coming back, we want to sign you, we want to sign you?
So the way some of the questions about you, I'm thinking he's done his homework, but you haven't, because these answers I'm giving you aren't sort of out there. When I was in Finland, like, there was no internet. I used to get the Ireland Saturday night a week late, and I had to read every bit of it. So we're now every sort of instant. So all the years I went playing Finland, people didn't know me, forgot about me. Right? I went down to the Oval and knocked the door and went in. Seamus Heath back in Finland, I want to train. All right, went train. But then I come out with a 3-year deal. I tell that story to people, not to be again cocky or confident. I could have come home, sat in the house. Yeah, nobody would have come. I went and knocked the door. Now, I haven't told this story in years. One of my neighbours is Owen McCall. What a lad. Lives in Annacloy. He went to left here, where's he now? Was it Portadown?
He was playing the centre midfield for Portadown.
Yeah, I think he's moved some, was he Dundalk? Not sure, but anyway, went in the whole city. Remember him and then St Johnson. Then he come home. And I can remember, me McCall's home, went to the shop and I haven't seen him about and all that. I went to his door, knocked his door. He come to the door. What about you? Hi, see me, I'm all good. What do you do with yourself? I don't know. I said, need to get yourself going. Come out with me, let's get you coaching, let's get you going. And I'm not saying I was the one that sort of got him playing, but that's what happens to a lot of people. Yeah. And as I say, when I come home, Seamus Heath, no, don't know you. But then again, soon got to know me.
Yeah.
Knocked the door. Now, if I had trained that night and wasn't very good, you're not going to get offered anything.
Yes, you had to stand out.
Yes, yeah. So in between the 9 seasons of Finland, I played for 9 years without a break. So I was going to Finland, season finished, coming back at a house then when I met Karen in Wales. So I had played in the off season. I didn't need to, because I took a few months off, played at Rill and Carnarvon, just killing the time. And then obviously had the spells at home then with Glentoran. When I look at it, bits what just sort of happened, every time I'm going back at sort of end of March, April, was at the business end of the seasons here. So maybe say it was a Glentoran, coming toward maybe semi-final Irish Cup.
Yeah.
So when I look back now, you know, I missed something that could have been then playing at the Irish Cup final. Where was I? Out in Finland. But Finland was my life.
Yeah.
So as I say, I was coming home, I was just sort of filling holes, filling gaps for a few
Did you
months.
prefer the whole professional side of things in Finland more so than coming back to part-time?
They were both similar, meaning the years I was in Finland, most of the teams I was in, the first couple of years, I was the only player getting paid. So I had to perform.
Okay.
Because the rest were like amateur players. How I described the whole leagues was very similar, but just in Finland, technically a bit better.
Okay.
Now, if you put the years I was there, putting the two leagues together, it would have been interesting. Again, our Irish league would have been fitter, stronger, getting stuck into you. Technically, I always found they were better.
But sure.
And the story I tell about that is, so again, when we're even in training, somebody annoys you, maybe want to leave one on them or, you know, kick somebody, whatever. And I found in Finland, if somebody was doing my head, and I thought, right, let's leave a wee ticket on him. Time I went to go to kick him, the passing moved.
Yeah.
You know, so I couldn't get near them, and that's the bit that I found.
So you're saying with Hilton Honors, I can use points for a free night stay anywhere?
Anywhere.
What about fancy places like the Canopy in Paris?
Yeah, Hilton Honors, baby.
Or relaxing sanctuaries like the Conrad in Tulum?
Hilton Honors, baby.
Ooh, what about the 5-star Waldorf Astoria in the Maldives?
Are you gonna do this for all 9,000 properties? When you want points that can take you anywhere, anytime, it matters where you stay. Hilton, for the stay. Book your spring break now.
What I'm thinking of here is your time when you came back. The Irish League is something that obviously I've grew up in, you've played in multiple times, and your coaching revolves around a lot of kids who have made their way through the pathways of Northern Ireland into the Irish League, and obviously in England as well. But how would you sum up your time in the Irish League? Was it enjoyable?
Yes. I'd say, the reason I'm thinking, very enjoyable. Glentoran, big club, made some still to this day, fantastic contacts. And because it was in business too, people you were meeting, people who wanted to help you. So, and the name of the club, big club. But my 2 years at Distillery, I absolutely loved.
Okay.
And again, I maybe always jokingly about how I tell a story, but it's, as my dad always said, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. But most of it is true. For example, with Big Billy Hamilton, he got a few quid. Now, it might have been $5,000. I tell the story, 500 quid. So he got me, Billy Totten, God rest him, who just died a few months ago, Philip Mitchell, Tom Cleland, and got Stephen Baxter. So we formed, you know, a team, a good side. We won the Gold Cup, first time in 80 years, Distillery. We worked hard together, socialised together. Just the 2 years there, I must say, was fantastic.
Would that have been your most enjoyable period?
I would say yes, because the expectations weren't so high.
Okay.
Yeah, the time I went there, I think I had finished at the bottom of the league, and what happened in those days was re-election. You didn't get put out. You sort of, if they didn't want you, they would maybe put you out, but you got sort of, you always stayed up. So obviously going from that, and I think we finished 4th in the league, won the Gold Cup, and I must say, place was buzzing.
Yeah.
And then obviously things changed a wee bit. Obviously, Billy being the manager, the board then, not say the words get carried away a wee bit, but are looking then the next
expectations.
Can we get maybe third? Can we get second? Can we win something else? And then we are getting a little bit older as well.
Yeah.
So we had our couple of years, and then it sort of
fizzled out.
Fizzled.
Players get sold on too.
yeah, just the way of it. And as I say, I was coming, I would say, nearly to my end, but there's still more that happened to me.
Yeah.
You mean, and as I say, from that, like, I went had a spell at a year at Cliftonville, obviously a club I always supported, but when I went there, I was finished. I was done. I then had a year at Derry City, and I will say it, I was done then.
Definitely done then.
I still tell that story about Derry City. They were looking a left-sided player for balance, and I was available, and they took me, and I went there, and I had quite an enjoyable spell until the next manager came in, and he wanted more locals. I have no complaints with that.
Yeah. Did you move up to Derry at this stage?
No, I
Just travel.
I travelled from Manacloy 2 nights a week. The pit's a lovely city, lovely people. I always loved after the games. We always went in the local bar, hotel, bite to eat. You had people like Phil Coulter coming in, chatting to you. Memories I have from it. Yeah, lovely people, very good people. Liam Coyle, what a player. And I know you get people, I don't believe about, I was unlucky or this could have happened and all the bits. He's about the rare one, I would say. If it wasn't for his knee injury, he would have been a Premier League player in England. That's how good he is. Used to watch him, training in matches and all the bits, playing with the pad on his knee. Unbelievable. If he didn't have that, the man would have been just a class act. Plus, he's a gentleman as well. So as I say, that was that. And then I retired, and I don't know if you've done your homework, but then retired for a year, hadn't played, finished. I was out cutting the grass one night in Annacloy, and Brian McGurgan from Anna, who has a house in my area, was passing the other side and shouted over me, "Shimmy, we've a match tomorrow night. We play Portadown pre-season once a year. Would you come and guest for us?" I said, "I'd love to." I said, "I've retired, haven't played in a year." I went, played one match, and stayed 4 years. 4 years I stayed there, and they still talk about, because then the players I brought to the club.
Yes.
When I think of it, people like your Maury Hunters and all, different people that were about down, and as I say, 4 good years there, and then that was me. You're not finished then.
At what stage throughout your career, when you're back, are you starting to consider that football's going to finish and you need a plan for the future?
I think most of us don't really, with a wee sort of half idea. My bit was because when I come back from England, then we opened the shop. That was another great thing for me. Okay, yes, come home. Where do you buy? You buy in your own area, because you knew it. And then, as I say, open the shop. And then that was another great sort of meeting place. There's people used to come to chat, and then they sort of just grew from there. Then I thought, that's how we look at this coaching game. So we'll get into the coaching game, and I must have been doing okay, because
You scaled very quickly.
it went, yeah. Although there's people still I need to thank, like even when I was at Tranmere, and I always tell the story of playing at Wrexham, and I remember, and I feel a wee bit embarrassed because I played Tranmere one day, and Brian Hamilton was the player manager, and I must say, I did kick him a few times.
Okay.
But it obviously left a wee mark, because then when I was out in Finland, he phoned me to come and sign. So I went then and signed for him. But I also remember most weeks he would have said to me, I think I was 26, 27, get your coaching badges. You get your coaching badges. So I tell the story is that he must have thought I was a crap player.
Right.
Get on the coaching side. But obviously what he must have seen was, because I was always asking him questions.
Yeah.
And after training, and if we're maybe off on the side, he was doing something, other players maybe would have been daydreaming or chatting. I'm always looking to see,
Picking brains
on what's going on. And even up to a few years ago, when I was doing a wee bit of media work, I bumped into him. I remember doing a match down at Dungannon. He was there for St. Ant or something, and I came and bumped into him. I said, about this, because it's new to yourself. Right, Brian, tell me something.
Yeah.
And I always remember him saying to me, just jump in, describe it, and get out.
Yeah.
And that's
the best.
that still stays with me.
And that's one of the things I think I've been quite lucky in this journey, where I've been able to touch past with the likes of Jackie Fullerton, who gives you incredible insight into being the biggest legend. I've got Joel Taggart's another one who constantly on the phone and you're asking questions, can I sit with you, can I do this? And Joel's a bit of this man on the planet, but he's always got time for you. And you're sitting going like, these are the people that you should be learning from, but that's just because I'm interested in this now. For people who are playing football or coming up through the ranks, asking questions is one of the biggest ways where you're going to be able to learn. But a lot of people are shy. Nobody's not going to say no. And if they do, there's always going to be somebody else who's going to say yes.
Yeah, and I find going forward, even from now, there's a lot out there even more shy. And I put a lot of it down actually, even from COVID.
Yeah.
You know, like what I try to do now with younger people, when I meet even all my private kids that I take, first thing I meet them, shake their hand.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll have the wee jokes. First time I do it, it's like a wet fish. And then some of them shake their hand and then look on the ground, look me in the eye.
Yeah.
You know, and as I say, I just think wee bits like that, and then getting them sort of
Confidence, yeah.
you know, and then so they can go and then even like if you're when I took you in your coaching course or whatever, I always say the greatest thing about football, sure, no bad questions.
No.
It's all about opinion. I could sit here now, I mean, you could argue all night. You could say 3-5-2. I say no, it's 4-4-2.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what's great about the game of football.
It is a game of opinions.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot of people who thought I was useless, and I would say the opposite.
But most of them are quite right. No, I must say, because even on it, I'm going to tell you a story that I'm sure you don't even know about. I don't think I've ever even thanked you.
Right.
When I was doing the pro license.
Okay.
And it's a great story, because obviously Owen Kearney is involved in it. He's now the Ballymena manager. Yeah, when I was doing a pro license, part of it is, yes, there are a lot of match analysis and different things, but it's about also taking two teams. Mm-hmm. So I was with Tommy Breslin.
Yes.
So Tommy brought in...
Up at Solitude?
Yeah, brought in Clippermill lads, and I remember you playing up front, and Sammy McFadden was working at distillery. At times we brought in distillery like under 20s, so his partner was Owen Kearney. Mm-hmm. So we got the two teams, go and coach them, set them up and play. I think we battered them about 6.
I remember...
we scored about 4 of them.
I remember Tommy saying to me, you got me my licence that day, or my pro.
Yeah.
And he laughed, and he gave me 50 quid a week.
Yeah, and I must say, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Me being me, you think I'd go, look, what a coach. I flipped it that many times. I said to people, if I had been taking the other team,
yes,
we'd have got beat 6.
Yeah.
So there's Owen Kearney, what a top lad, top manager, and they were battered that day.
Maybe that's why you never signed me for Cora.
So what does it come down to? Good players,
opinions,
all opinions on players. But as I say,
that was a lot of fun, because that was actually my first introduction to what it's like to actually be in a professional setup, because you had to take the kids into the changing room. The TV was on. You had to kind of describe them what was going to happen. This is where you're going to go, and this is your tactics and your formations. You went out and you worked on it, and it was it was a very eye-opening experience for such a...
What age would you have been then?
16 maybe.
Oh, as young as that?
17.
Wow.
Because Tommy then gave me a contract the following year. I think, and then I went into the first team from... Well,
I would have thought you were older, because your performance that day was unbelievable.
Just like a man.
Yeah.
Back her from I was 4. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, so as I say, it's, I've always wanted to share a wee story with you.
Well, I appreciate that.
And that's so...
Well, I appreciate then you repaying me back a few years later when I done mine.
Right. Yeah.
Because I felt very comfortable. It's always nice when you know people. Do you know, when you go somewhere and somebody's there and you turn up, and I think I had spoke to you about doing some sort of coaching, you said start early. I think I was only 20, maybe 21. I did my first one up Crossbar.
Yeah. Yeah, funny you say that, because there's times I say to people, actually, don't start too early. Because what happens in football is, because you can do your level 1 now when you're 16, you know. So you get some young lads, and it's just a thing in life. Once you get on the coaching ladder, oh, I'm a coach.
Yeah.
So no matter who you're playing for, when your manager's talking, you know, sometimes you're going, yeah, I'm a coach too. He's not talking, he's talking rubbish or whatever. So I always say to some, you know, get into coaching at the right time.
I still get that now when you were playing. Tail end, you're listening to people and you're sitting going,
I know.
But I think that's one of the biggest criticisms I have for myself personally, because towards the end I was probably too critical, because I thought that I knew what I would do as a coach, and I didn't agree with what they were doing. And I think that's a massive conflict.
Yeah. Well, me personally, I respect any volunteer in football, giving up their time, and then any manager.
Yeah.
No matter what level.
100%.
Even in our Irish Prem, you might, in the Premier League in England, you're getting the sack. Yeah.
You
get
get
a couple of million payoff.
100%.
There you go.
Yeah.
But our level and our country being so small as well, but I would probably, I know I'd struggle with. I mean, the abuse you get and what happened. They look at everything's judged by if Glentoran are doing well and Linfield aren't, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Linfield doing well and Glentoran not, you're getting hammered. It's just so fickle.
You talked about management. You said management wasn't really something that you wanted to do. But at one stage, you did help out in a team in Wales with a friend of yours.
Very good.
So
Yep, that's
you
right.
think about people having done their research.
Yeah. Well, I'll be careful how I say about this because it was an interesting one. You know, to tell you the truth, what happened. There was a fella, Neville Powell. He would have been...
well, he would have played with you at Tranmere.
Yeah, that's correct. He was my best man. He would have been there, Ronnie McFall.
The Kieran
Of
Harder.
Wales,
Okay.
Welsh football.
Okay.
In it for a million years.
Okay.
Everything knew everybody and all the bits. And, you know, he'd managed Bangor City for years. Had won everything. So he'd been round the block. Aberystwyth was actually his last club. So you could say it wasn't that he was going downhill or anything, but it was last club getting on a bit as well. And what happened was he didn't have his pro licence. And Welsh FA had said to him, here's 5 names. You got to take one of them. And I really just say Ronnie, because Ronnie McFall would have been like that too, meaning he'd have looked and went, I ain't taking any of them.
Yeah.
So he contacted me and said, listen, will you come over? And I said, I'll have a wee think about it. And why I said then yes was because obviously Ben was in Chester, 2 grandkids, very young. So I thought, well, I could kill a few birds with one stone, fly over at the weekend, do the match, and then come home. And that's what I did for a lot of months.
Was that enjoyable? Was that a case for him though because of Europe?
Yep.
He needed that.
Yeah. And that, what I would say was part of me getting in with Neville was getting them their licence.
Okay.
And bits. So in a nice way, I was, yes, well involved. But in reality...
You were just on the side.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know what I mean.
Well, that's happened in the Irish League too.
Yes, it just happens, and that's, you know, yes, you got to have certain badges and whatever. Sometimes it can be maybe too sort of strict on it. Even though we have all these interviews now with your man in England, is it the Dorchester manager?
Yes.
Who's a
He's built his way up, he's a maniac.
Yeah. No, at the end of the day, there's a happy sort of medium balance of it. Of it all.
A question I want to ask you here, and it's not to take away or to try and put you in a bad position, but you've worked in the FA for such a long period of time, and coaching badges are such a massive expectation in today's world of football. Do you think they're needed?
Yes, it's a good question, and there's an argument for it all. Yes, you've got to get qualified. You know, you all think we've played. Once you've like, even we'll go back there a wee bit. When I did the pro licence, I thought I was playing for Celtic. In our group, we had Tommy Johnson, Chris Sutton, Jackie McNamara, Alan Thompson. You know, and then the Irish boys was me, Tommy Breslin, Sammy McFadden, and Owen Kearney. Only 4 of us. You know, and then you had Roddy Collins as well, who was the character. I find some people, when they go to coaching courses, feel a bit out of it because I didn't play like there's Chris Sutton, Chelsea member, bought him for 10 million.
Yeah.
I had no problem with any of it. I find when you go to a coaching course, it's a level playing field.
100%.
Because what you've done as a player doesn't come in yet.
No.
Now, it can be a bit of an advantage when you're looking in to take a session or, you know, going to play or showing a drill, right? We're going to ping the ball 30 yards or down the line. You're able to execute it. But I took from a lot of licenses a lot of boys come in, especially on the pro license. A lot of those boys hadn't been in the classroom from the left school.
Yeah.
So I call that a level playing field. So a lot of those boys learnt a lot how to then talk, how to put on a session. And that I found, yes, I learned a lot from the course because a lot of guest coaches coming in. Like I remember going to do match analysis against Ajax. Alex Ferguson's assistant come in the next day, Mike Phelan. And it was very interesting because how we seen the game, to how he seen it, was sometimes a little bit different. Some of it was very knowledgeable, and some of it was actually quite funny. You know, meaning it was, I don't know, Giggs and Nani or something, or the two wingers, and we had said, hey, well done. Like after 20 minutes, when you change the two wingers, and then you got more joy. No, we didn't change the two wingers. So they did it themselves. You know, I found that quite funny. And then the other bit I take from it was, we're saying like, at time, remember it was quite dull, and you went out and you got them going. So we didn't get the 70,000 people. You think they can hear us? You just go out and move the arms so the fans are thinking you're going to have something. Yes, and I found bits like that interesting. But again, as he was saying about, it's all about the good players who have the pitch. So yes, a few years ago, if you'd asked me that question, I would have had to be very careful what I said.
Yes.
I'm now out of the IFA, so I can say what I want in that. But I can see the argument for both sides. You know, you've got to learn the game, and I like to think John Paul's doing a good job at the IFA. A good fella who's come in and, well, I say, tidied it all up.
Yeah.
I would say maybe before there's things went on that shouldn't. So fair play, Sean Paul's come in, tidied it up, bringing some good coaches over here. On that, I think we've got some fantastic coaches here.
Yeah.
I'd need a wee bit of help and guidance. My own education, yes, all through the IFA, but I think I've done the extra bit by travelling and visiting clubs and things like that.
What do you think's needed for Northern Ireland to really kick on? Because you've got a small nucleus of very good, young, talented players at the minute in the first team, which we've all seen. Some of them came through the pathways at the Irish League. Some of them, like Trey Hume, for instance, your captain now, played Linfield a few years ago, and you're sitting going, like, you've a very talented small group of players who are technically gifted. And it's very different than what Northern Ireland would have been at the Euros, whenever they qualified.
Yeah. That's probably the best question you've asked me, because that's where my sort of passion
See, I have to get through the rigmarole that everybody
comes out. And that's the way. The secret is you got to get into the kids early, but I don't mean by in and coaching them heavily. You know, the problem I have at the minute, our youngest kids aren't getting the correct coaching. So you name even the Irish League clubs. A lot of them, it's volunteers or parents that are taking them, and it's not until they come further up that then the club is then having a wee look at them. By then, some of it's too late. So you've got to have the golden years, we call it, is like from 8 to 11. You got to be, showing them the skills, showing them, the ball mastery and all the bits, and then from that you can then move on. The problem is our country, we're not getting the top coaches taking the younger groups, and it's because they're not getting paid. You've got to pay coaches, bring in them, and you can see where it goes in. I know clubs are talking maybe, we don't have the finances. Story I tell as well is when we're, I'm running the camp or anywhere with a group of people, and you've got coaches, right? Who's taking what? I'll take the big group. And I find over the years, I have done it myself, is by taking the youngest.
Yeah.
Because that's where you show them and teach them, and then move it up that way. My own personal thought on our players is our product at the minute is very, very good in the Irish League. Anybody who's playing in our Premier League, 19, 20, 21, they've got something about them. Because it's a tough league, it's a physical league, you can't be able to play. You will walk into a League 1, League 2 team, and if you do well there, you'll get your move.
But so I want to ask you something. Northern Ireland's now full time. The majority of the bigger clubs and most of these kids who are playing and playing regularly are in a full time setup. So Larne, Linfield, Glentoran, Coleraine. Why are we not seeing kids at that age in Northern Ireland setups or managing to break the barrier from the Irish League into the professional Northern Ireland first team?
Yeah.
Because they're doing it in England, and it only seems to be that if you've made the pathway across, you get selected. Now, there's been a very select few who've maybe joined in a training camp. But if it's no longer a question of it, they're full-time over there and you're part-time.
Yeah. No, as I said earlier, we're not starting it early enough. As I say, even if you're, say, at Tranmere Rovers under 10s, they'll have a coach there, a professional coach, and he'll be getting paid, and he'll be coaching them to bring them on, right? Here are Irish League clubs, like ours, as I say, 2 weeks ago, took a wee Glentoran team across. So they would have been under 11s, 3 coaches, 3 parents, doing the best that they can.
Yeah.
What did they get out of the trip? They seen then that some of the wee players weren't far off it, matched them.
Yeah.
A few of the players did struggle a wee bit. What the coaches learnt was how you have to show them how to play.
Yeah.
There's no, sometimes in our local games, so even at under 11s, Linfield playing Glentoran, not saying it's tribal warfare, but if the coach is shouting and players want to know just to win a match.
Yeah.
Anybody can win a match. It's can you develop players and making players. Yes, you got to play in that environment. It's going to be hard work, but you got to be playing properly.
Well, there's changes now to the structure from the IFA from sort of under 4 upwards, isn't there? Where they're going 3v3 for a couple of years, 4v4, 5v5. Do you think that that's going to work? I
don't know. It's obviously they're taking the model from around the world, Germany and all that. Well, it's like anything in our country, time will tell. Time will tell. I do believe like we have our 7-a-side and 5-a-side, so the kids are getting more touches and they're on the ball and the results don't get recorded and all that. So as I say, we'll see further down the line. I know they're going down, they're talking about 3v3. Yeah. As I say, personally, I don't know if that's the right way to go, but as I say, time will tell. And if it does work, that we are now in 7, 8, 9 years' time producing more players, I'll be first to say, yeah, I like that. Play. The problem is in our country, too many of the volunteer coaches who without them, it doesn't happen. They want the kids, how quick can you get the 11-a-side? Yeah. Because that's the game, offside and win. And it's just trying to get people away from it. I mean, I've had many stories in my own area when I did a lot of at a local club, Tullymore. I remember taking our under 12s one year was Andy Waterworth, main man at the IFA with Michael Carville, taking the young teams. Now I would have coached those kids for 3 or 4 years before I passed them up to Andy and Michael, and they were taking them, and the kids were brilliant. Yeah. Right, coaching them, giving them the good habits. The funny story was we had sometimes some of our parents asking, why did Andy and Michael not shout at the kids? Because the other teams are shouting, because they're trying to do it. Yes. Trying to do it proper. To do it proper. So I say there's no secret. The secret of making a player is coaching them early, but coaching them properly and to play the game properly. And then you sort of, because at the end of the day, they're going to find their level anyway. So try and give them the tools that they need and then sort of take it from there. Now, in saying that, how dedicated, so one wee bugbear I have here in our country now, I'm talking to kids, they don't even watch football. Yeah. I meet them, say on Sunday, see match of the, okay, it's on late, but it's on Sunday morning, or match in the week. Did you see the Champions League game last night? No. Are you sure? Name of some of the players. Some of them aren't, as interested as well. Like I have a friend not long back, he's been coaching in Japan and China. The story he tells, I'm taking a kid and we're maybe passing the ball and we pass it maybe 20 metres, do it 10 or 15 times. And I can say, starting to get a wee bit bored. What's wrong with you? Yeah, I can do that now. All right, very good. Where the wee child in China or Japan, you could have 2 players doing it. You go away for a cup of tea for an hour and come back, they'd still be there doing it. Yeah. And it's just repeat, but with good habits. Our product in Northern Ireland is obviously a lot better at the minute. We've touched on that. How do you think that we take it to the next level? Do you think that it's, and by that I mean like the Irish League. The Irish League's been fantastic at the moment. Yeah. And as you say, you're getting full-time teams, you're getting more interest from England, Scotland, Wales, all these different parties. But
How do you think that we build on that going forward to be sustainable?
Well, it's usual problem we have in our country. Two biggest things is people don't like change, and communication is a big problem. But on that is change. Now, there's plenty of arguments for it. I'm a great believer in summer football.
Okay.
Right. But there was a match off there in April.
Yeah.
You know, even our last Friday night, the Ballymacaishan or Friday game was cancelled and all the bits. I have an opinion on a lot of things, but I do my homework. I would watch 6 or 7 League of Ireland games. Now you might think, oh, where do you go? Do you up and watch Derry? Catch them maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
And up down, because from my house, 45 minutes I can be in Dundalk.
Yeah.
And I've gone down there, and when I've come away from the matches, I went, I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Weather's been decent. I've seen more young people as well. So I think we've got to look at when we play, is it a summer season with a little break? That because where we do struggle, and we have got better, but I can remember only 3 or 4 years ago, Linfield qualifying before they went full time for Europe. They've had their summer break, come back, and where was David Jeffries or David Healy taking them? A couple of weeks to get them ready, maybe 2 weeks. What do you got to do the first week? You got to get the fitness up.
Yeah.
And then second week, feel of the ball in the match. Oh, you've lost a few pounds, but that's you out.
Yeah.
So we've got to prepare.
And that's always the model of it, wasn't it? For years, it was
Yes.
if you can get one game,
Yeah.
250 grand, you're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the perfect model is always full time.
Okay.
But will that happen? Don't know, can't see it. It all comes down to finances. And the way it works in our country now is if you don't get into Europe,
You're struggling.
you're struggling.
Yeah.
Now I know now because of the young Welsh lad Euston News doing a bit of coaching me on his day off and it. The talk is now Bangor will be the next club, not to go full time, but maybe hybrid.
Yeah.
So it's getting them in maybe an extra night. Cliffmill are already that. They should be hopefully then.
I think the only 2 teams that aren't hybrid at the minute in the league that I would have known of was Portadown and Balmain. Most other teams are 3 now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you see now the way the league is. Look at the team now, the full time teams. So again, because of Euston coaching with me, you know, so meeting them on a Sunday after the Saturday match, how was it? You know, always says playing against the full time teams, just a different level.
Yeah.
You know, even though Bangor have done well this year now, their thing was to stay up, which they've done. So now, what's the words? Not fear. Next year will be their test.
Yes.
Because now ones have sussed them out.
You usually have a gap year, don't you?
Yes.
Lock all done it 2 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
You couldn't really figure that.
It's one of them. Let's see, you know, what sort of player now Lee Feeney adds to his teams and all the bits. But no, it's just we've got to get more of a full-time model. And I think the finances is the big thing. Like if Glenavon get that. I think big financial people out there, you know, if you come into Northern Ireland and put money in,
Yeah.
like if you get into Europe, you know,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Kenny Bruce is the prime suspect. Isn't he?
Absolutely. That is bit.
Did his bit,
Yeah.
put his money
Yeah.
in, got himself
Yeah.
in the group stages.
Yeah, yeah. Although I have been saying to people, because I'm doing a bit lately here at Distillery, what a team with a bit of history.
Yeah.
History and a club. Somebody come in there, think what you could
The
do.
whites, yeah.
Yeah.
The dog track and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. So as I say, hopefully our Premier League, yep. I mean, it's brilliant now. Like I've seen me on a Friday night. I don't know what else I would have been doing. Times coming home. Oh, on the iPlayer.
Yeah.
And maybe watching the TV on and the iPlayer, a League of Ireland match.
Well, the League of Ireland TV is phenomenal. They have the whole setup. They've got the studio.
Every
They
day.
break away. They give you the clips. It's kind of like a match a day. It's
But I should be on a Friday night. There's maybe Championship match on or League One or even a Premier League match, and there's maybe
the two
the
Irish
two,
games
yeah,
on.
in Ireland. So very, very good.
Well, you're talking about the difference. There's a massive difference at the minute in the 2 leagues still, and there was a lot of conversations had around potentially merging the 2 leagues together or the top teams on each side. What would you think if that happened? Would be the
Well, me personally, I would love to see an All Ireland League. Will it happen? No, can't see it.
Yes.
It's like international teams. You know, you have 2 different identities, and it won't come together. But you can see the time, as I say, when Michael O'Neill, Jim Magilton, Sam McRovers, when they get into group stages, from that they've built on it. But from that initial getting into the group stages, they're still living off some of it.
Yeah.
Meaning Shamrock Rovers setup and their youth is unbelievable.
It's been developed.
Yeah. Now, one of the private children I take, they played Linfield last season in a wee tournament, and one of the parents of the Linfield team, phoned me, said, yes, we're in the semi-final now, we've won 3 games, we haven't conceded a goal, and little did he know I was at there watching, but he phoned me, I said, yeah, very, very good, we've got Shamrock Rovers next, right, very good. I think Shamrock put them 6 or 7 by them.
Yeah.
Right. Now, talking to Shamrock boys afterwards, that the wee Linfield kids were in like 2 nights a week, like say for an hour. They were in like 4 nights a week.
Mm-hmm.
And
contact time's
yeah,
massive, isn't it?
and their coaches were full time.
Yeah.
So not full time just that wee under 10 team, but they're in as full time, maybe doing the 8s, 10s and 12s.
Yes.
So working with them. And what I liked about them as well when they're playing, they weren't standing just saying nothing. They were, not say the words coaching them, but they were guiding them,
yeah,
talking to them, playing at a good tempo, because as they get older, it's competitive. And I'm noticing that now coming into the, even in Europe, in Spain and Portugal, where at times we sort of think, oh, no, don't be shouting at the wee 12-year-old, let him play, he just has to learn.
Yeah.
It's competitive.
Yeah, it is.
And when you get up then and it doesn't happen, then you're asking questions. So it's getting in a wee, what'll I say, winning mentality early, but not a win at all costs.
Yeah.
And that.
So good, so good, so good.
New markdowns up to 70% off are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. And that means so many new reasons to rack.
Because I always find something amazing.
Just so many good brands.
Because there's always something new.
Join the Nordy Club to unlock exclusive discounts, shop new arrivals first, and more. Plus, buy online and pick up at your favorite rack store for free. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
We all have that dream trip we've been wishing we could go on. But too often, life, or usually price, gets in the way. That's why Priceline is here to help you turn your dream trip into reality. With up to 60% off hotels and up to 50% off flights, you can book everything you need for your next adventure. Don't just dream about that next trip. Book it with Priceline. Download the Priceline app or visit Priceline.com and book your next trip today.
Go to your happy price, Priceline.
I got to look at it in a different way here from you, and I want to see what you think on this. But how big of a difference do you think of it is for the Irish League players moving to England at the minute? Because recently you've seen the likes of Ronan Hill going over, had a couple of moves, slotted in very easily. Do you think that we should be seeing more kids going over from our league to be competitive? Or do you think that...
Brilliant. Super question. Just when you mentioned Ronan, obviously our Ben looks after Ronan. Like him and Rory went when they were 16 to Villa and Birmingham.
Birmingham, yeah.
And then back home. My thing, as I think I've said to you earlier, I believe our boys, there's too many going too soon.
Because, you think that they should stay here longer?
Correct. Well, I will say my own personal view. I think, as I said earlier, if they're playing in our Irish Prem at 19, 20, even 21, you look at your Stuart Dallas, Gareth McCauley's, even Trey Hume, go when you're ready, and then you will walk in the League One, League Two team, and then, as I say, if you do well, you will get into the championship. I have a great belief in that, because what happened, there's too many going over early, and what's happening lately, if you notice, we used to have nearly a link. You could see boys going to Fleetwood, quite a few going over, and that it's not happening at the minute. What's happening, our boys are, some of them going just to the bigger clubs. It's because the bigger clubs are paying the money.
Yeah.
Even though I will use this name, we had Sean Moore in Cliftonville, best player in the Irish League a few years ago by a mile.
Yeah.
Obviously, right, I think if we had went to sort of a Wigan or a Fleetwood, find your feet, find your level, and then move up.
Play a few games. So what happens? West Ham, maybe that's around 150 grand or something. Tim will get the money over there. Now he's back playing at Shelbourne. Yeah. Nothing wrong with playing at Shelbourne. No. Great standard. Mm-hmm. But, things like that. So I find where the League One and League Two teams do not have the money. Yeah. Don't have, I'll lay out now 100 grand, 150 grand to take a chance on the lad, where the bigger clubs can. Where the question I would ask, are our lads going to the bigger clubs? Are they ever going to really play in their first team? Is that not neglect from the club? Like, obviously, if a player's at a club say, for instance, Sean Moore, and he's been there, and you've touched on there, say, in hindsight, Fleetwood and somebody else, or Hull or somewhere like that have came in, and they haven't offered as much money. Contracts can be stipulated with add-ons and all these things, which we know about now when you played the game, that it shouldn't really matter what club, but the club's obviously looking the most amount of money.
Correct.
But that's not doing the best thing for the player.
Correct. I couldn't agree with you more. And again, it's clubs looking after
the club
themselves here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like I know a story last year of one of our bigger clubs coming to the director of football and saying to him, listen, we need at least 6 pairs. Sell them next year. Have to be at least over 100 grand. Right. But he wasn't saying, oh, we need that money because we're going to develop our players. It's bringing it in. And as you know, most of it goes to the higher end.
Yeah, the upper end.
You know, like you can see, we can see what the wage bill to run an Irish League club is quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But because I'm a football man and there for the young ones, I don't think our young ones are getting guided correctly. As I say, it's too quick. Oh, yeah, somebody's in, you have offered 100 grand, they're away.
What do you think's needed? Is this a position where the PFA have to come on board and try and guide kids more before they leave? Or is this...
Yeah, no, good question. And then again, no better fella, Michael Carville. I started brilliant with him. Hopefully it all carries on.
Absolutely. It's needed. It's massively needed. Yeah.
Couldn't agree with you more. And hopefully Michael then it does filter down, talking to clubs, talking to players. You know, I keep saying to ones, you've got to go. Like we've got a few academies now, obviously in Northern Ireland, and a wee bugbear I have at the minute. I know 2 kids who are not playing very well at their club at the minute, and I'm not saying it's fully down to that reason, but they're at a wee academy the night before they play for their club, and I've heard the story talking to the parents. Oh, but they have comfort. You have to go. I say you don't have to do anything.
Yeah. It's
looking at, for in the light of your child. I believe no child should be at an academy of an English league club,
like a Liverpool or a Chelsea or whoever,
and then playing for your club the next day.
100%.
These kids, some of them maybe
like realistically, what are they getting out of that?
Yeah.
Like, what is? Yeah. Is that just a training session?
Yeah. Well, I think on the bottom line of it all, what are they looking? They're looking the next Conor Bradley.
Yes, yeah.
And where's he coming from? So they're all doing it, hoping just to get the one.
The one.
And as I say, that's my own personal opinion on that.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I don't think that it's much needed. I think contact time is a massive thing. I think kids need to be touching the ball more. I think maybe the introduction of the likes of futsal is massive in South Asia, Southern America. A lot of these,
a
lot of these Brazils and Kuwait, like, do you know what I mean? Like,
especially in the winter. In the winter, like I heard a coach tell me all day, Jimmy, we haven't had a match for 6 weeks.
Yeah,
called off. So obviously futsal, play it indoor, the ball's on the ground, loads of touches. Now, as you get older and get up, it's a completely different sport.
It is, yes.
Football. But for young kids, when you see your Messis and Ronaldinhos, who you all grew up with when they were kids back in their country, and what it does for them.
You're touching the ball way, way more than you would be playing.
Ball mastery.
So that's where I think, that's my sort of side of things. I think that the introduction of potentially a sport that will help guide football in the country, yes. And as you say, across periods of the year, you struggle to get kids out there, coldness and weather. Be smart. Move it indoor. Maybe try something different.
No, but we've just, our leagues, are just some of them
stuck in their old ways.
Yeah, there's probably a nice sort of way, people in run the leagues on it, sir. They may have a lot of bugbears and some of the leagues, like I've even kids in my area, and, they're coming out of the area to travel up here to play in league in maybe Division 6, Division 7.
Yeah.
I've no kids from my area travelling up to train at the Irish League Club, 7, 8 years of age, twice a week, an hour up, train for an hour down. So there's 3 hours twice a week, 6 hours, what they could be doing.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, they might say to me, yeah, but he's not getting the same coaching. Some of our local clubs locally are very good.
Mm-hmm. But
problem,
you're down there with the likes of, was it Kilmore?
Oh, I
Kilmore
move
rep
all
and
of your
stuff?
Kilmore, your Drummonds's, your wee Newcastles, your Downpatricks, your Killalays, your Balance Olympics, Balance Uniteds, your Dundrums, Windmill Stars further on down, your Warren Points, Newries. There's a lot of clubs. Just some people think I've got the badge, I've got the tracksuit.
Look, they do that whenever they're older too, do you know?
Yeah. Look, I've my own wee stories of a year ago taking a young lad, what age? Maybe 10 years of age, Irish League club, and taking him privately, and I said to the parent after the second session, "Are you sure?" Because you have to watch what you sort of say. Yeah. Are you sure he's the right club? Do you not think he'd learn more playing local? Oh no! No, he's up there. He's gonna. That's where he's playing. So I went in to look at a couple of his games. He was getting very limited game time. And then I said to the parent, "Listen, I watched him all week. I just think he could do better." Yeah. So it's not for me to be picking the clubs for people.
But you're also giving your experiences.
Yeah, well, in a few months, the wee boy was back local. And the wee boy at the minute who I still take is flying. Yeah. He's doing well, he's back with his own wee mates. And that it's all about, are you getting coached and are you getting game time? Mm-hmm. And then if you're obviously doing a wee bit extra, whether it's with me or somebody else, or, at the end of the day, get out with the ball. Yeah. Because even on that there, our Nathan was home the other day, just on Friday for his birthday, so went down to our wee local pub, but not for a drink, went down to play snooker. Right. And I walked in, and you had to go through another wee door. And I went down, "Oh, you're Seamus Heath, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I want to thank you." I said, "Well, what did I do for you?" I didn't recognise who he was, and he told me his name. I think he was like 21 now. He said, "The things you did for me as a kid, you told me no days off in football, practice every day. Have you got a wall at home? Go and play the ball off the wall." I said, "Is that what I said?" I said, "I don't remember it." He said, "But I do." And then when I walked in, I said to Nathan, fair play to him. Yeah. So as I say, there's a wee lad, I like to think, like I've done for a lot of people, just help them along their way.
Yeah. And how is it that you see it now? I know that Ben's an agent, so he's obviously heavily involved in the game. So somebody to probably pick your head as much as you're probably picking his at the minute, and he's seeing football from a completely different perspective, and probably somebody that I need to get in this seat, because I haven't interviewed somebody who's an agent yet. Yeah. What's that like, understanding that side of the game?
Well, we both have the same sort of strap line. It is a beautiful game. Yeah. But it's a horrible business. Okay. The going-ons. Like there, I know for a fact there in January, Ben was going out of the house 9 in the morning, back in midnight for the month of January. And then once the window closed, he was in bed for a week. Yeah. He was sick. It had taken that much out of him. So you're trying to help players. There's, like anything in life, some agents don't do it right. Mm-hmm. Some would do. So I like to think Ben's company.
And who is it who does it for?
It's called Full 90. Full 90. Worked out of Liverpool. What I've seen from the outside looking in, Ben obviously builds up a relationship with the players who are going and watching them, seeing them when they're injured, coming back from injury. Yeah. He's coaching them. What I know he does now in the summer, he will have camps where they bring all their players in and they get them ready for going back to
like a pre-season.
Back. Pre-season, before pre-season. Yeah. So he does things like that. But and then when clubs are looking after themselves, they're maybe saying, right, we'll take this player, but they're already looking at somebody else. Mm-hmm. And if they get him in first, they'll go, "Oh, sorry, we don't want them." So it's cutthroat business in that. Yeah. But he's looked after a lot of, okay, he did the Keller-Dunn deal from Barnsley to Wrexham on deadline day, but then he also took Ronan down from Scotland. He took Ronan over to Scotland and then Ronan down to Gillingham.
Who started off so well.
Yeah, well, one thing about Ronan Hill, I say, he scores goals.
He's ruthless. That's the
he
best. He
scores goals. Yes. And as I say, Ross County was flying, and then just things changed, managers changed, and that just wasn't happening. And then with the footballer's career, you've only got so long. Yeah, so he stayed there for another couple of years. Maybe he would have passed his best days.
It's a fantastic move.
Yeah. But I think when Ben tries to build relationships with clubs as well, and saying, "Listen, it's not happening for you. I need to look after my client." So he obviously got him a better deal at Gillingham. Started well. They've gone a wee bit off the boil. I think they're looking now for next year. but there isn't everybody trying to be sort of
ahead of the game too.
Yeah, being positive.
Yeah.
But
no, it's interesting. But listen, one thing I want to touch on just before we finish up here, because it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here. But you touched on there, you're back in with Distillery. What's that like being back in? Because is it Lee Forsyth's the manager there or not?
Lee Forsyth, local man. It was funny because I was team talker on Saturday. He looked over me. I got a mention meaning he was saying about because we find our players in the league are, I'll say, not very strong mentally, and you got it where he's saying like when I was younger, and even Seamus Heath shouted to me when I was at Castlereagh College, and bits like that. I've enjoyed some of it, not at all. I will say I think our PIL league is very poor.
Okay. Do you mean standard-wise?
I think the standard's poor.
Okay.
I think the officials are poor, and a lot of players are poor. Right. Okay. That's my own personal opinion. And I can see what's happening with the IFA Nifl this year. The top four are going to join the championship.
Yeah.
The rest, you're going to be going to a conference local run by the amateur league. So I think in our country, yes, maybe too many clubs trying to tidy it up, clean it up.
Focus on 3 tiers and
and then take it from there. I think it's because I'm a football man and I want to play football and want to do it right. But I found in our PIL, it hasn't been what I thought. From 3 o'clock to 4:45 is tribal warfare battle.
Okay, I get you.
So it's not like, for example, we have a Lee Fair Play. What he does I've never seen a black book like it. The man brings in players, brought some good youth in. A young lad, 18 years of age, Logan Beattie from Glentoran. Big lad like yourself, big and strong, scored goals for fun in youth football, but it just ploughed over people. Now he's coming and Lee for a play, giving him his wee 15, 20 minutes. Yeah. He has come on, scored us a couple of goals, but it's welcome to the real world.
Yeah.
Coming into what we call now
men's football,
big boys football.
Mm-hmm.
Can you cope? And even though I still take him privately as well, but what I'm trying to work on him, because he's at Distillery, is he's got to learn the game.
Yeah.
Because big boys at that league, as you know, will just come through you.
Yeah.
So he's got to learn quickly, and he's got to be very clever, very, very cute.
Yeah.
Which he is, and he wants to learn, but it takes time. And the free flip side of it, you get lads and they get a few games or some minutes, and they're expecting more, and they want more, and they want to be maybe starting. Where obviously Lee is the manager, he's got to protect the young players as well.
Yeah.
Like we've got Big Benny up front. My God, big
machine, big
monster, big hammer thrower,
big
all
Kiki
the bits. Yeah, Kiki as well. Some people might go, oh, listen, they're done and they're that. Yes, they've had their best days or maybe over them.
Yeah.
But you take them out of the PIL at the minute, and the Distillery will struggle.
Yeah.
So as I say, it's just a shame. That's just the way the league is, but it is seen as professional.
Yeah.
Because there's obviously most of the players are getting paid, not very highly, but they're
still getting something.
Yeah.
Does that give you more of an appetite for next year, or does it conflict? Does it push you the other way?
Honestly, pushes me the other way.
Okay. I thought that. No.
Yeah, I just, as I say, there's no use me coming on here and on talking. You going, yeah, this is great. I'm loving it, and I'm seeing it. I can see me maybe dipping back into the youth.
Okay.
And if I had my choice, I would probably prefer to dip back into the youth and bring some of them through to play in the first team.
Okay.
Now, and then maybe sort of take it from there, do the next couple of years, do Distillery, get up higher. But then you just don't know. But very fortunate the last couple of years travelling the world coaching.
Yeah.
A few clients flew me out there. Been in Spain, I've been in America, been quite a bit actually in London. And then while I'm there, I'm tapping into friends and people that I know, and
networking.
And then even this summer now, again, just over the last weekend with the Glentoran kids, I've different teams talking about wanting to go over pre-season.
Yeah.
So we'll see what sort of comes out of that. So still, love the game, passion for it. You know.
Introducing the new Best Skin Ever Ultra Slim Precision Concealer from Sephora Collection. It's full coverage with a matte finish and perfect for any look. Whether you're building it up for a full glam moment or targeting correction for a more natural vibe. At only $12, it's great for affordable touch-ups on the go. Get this new must-have concealer at Sephora or at Sephora.com today.
You'll still be in it anyway for the next few years.
Hopefully.
If you ever want to take me to the US, help you coach or carry your bags, I'm more than happy to. I'll just put it out there in case.
No, I've been lucky. Just made a lot of good contacts, and
you did. And I think, as we spoke about this at the start, and it's one of the things that I probably take away from you the most is you have to network. If you don't speak to people, you're never going to move in life. And I think for anybody who is getting into the coaching, trying to replicate that, having open conversations with people. As I say, you're not trying to rip people off. You're just having a generic conversation around football and sport. And anybody who loves sport doesn't mind talking about it.
Yeah. It's sitting with me. Like, I have quite a few coaches working. Like, I've 12 schools to look after all week. So I'm doing the schools and camps and all bits. Mal Donaghy took redundancy same time as me. Or sort of 3 or 4 of us come out at the same time, coaching for me, and I have a few other coaches, you know. But what we're trying to do is, you know, just do it right.
Yeah.
Just try and coach whoever we're taking, whether it's a child, whether it's a young adult, give them the good habits, and then just sort of.
Is Mal Donaghy still coaching now at the moment?
Yep.
Yeah.
Coaching for me today, and coaching for me tomorrow.
Do you know what, weirdly, and I'm not going to do this just to throw it out there, but I feel like I have to tell you. About 3 months ago, I spoke to Kieran Donaghy.
Yes.
And I requested
to
have a conversation with Mal. And he just wrote back on you, no chance.
No.
But the man has such an incredible story.
Correct.
But the thing is, I've spoken to a few people, now I don't have to jump in here. Anybody who's in his company, he tells stories to, supposedly, of the good old, like, constantly rhymes off all these experiences.
Yeah. I think it's as you get older. It's funny because I've got to know quite a few what I call legends. Like, I would sit here and say, Roy Armstrong,
yes.
Pat Jennings, you know. And what I loved about Pat, I've noticed as he's got older now, wanting to reminisce again in the IFA days through our McDonald's program. I always found when he come over, I always ended up driving him about.
Yeah.
And I loved when he was in the car with me. And it was funny because there was a Pat Jennings in the car and there was a Pat Jennings outside the car.
Yeah.
I think what he liked about me was when we went to a venue and had everybody after him and doing his bits, I knew when to sort of let him walk away and then let's drop his shoulder and go out. And as I say, the bits that he's done for me, and even all the week, I'm sitting in the house and he just messaged me like, oh, Pat. So I said to him, Nathan, wow, where's Pat Jennings messaging me? And he wasn't flipping or anything. And I said, I used to get out of school. My dad worked in Guinness for 40 years, right beside Windsor. So I used to get out of school early, out to East Side Gate, go to the matches, you know, from your George Best days. And I remember like being behind that goal today, which we all know was a goal.
Yeah.
I can still see it. Gordon Banks throwing the ball up, George Best knocking it out of his, putting it in the net. There. We were always behind that goal. George Best scoring from a corner, bent it in. I was there the day when he lifted the mud through the referee. So it's those sort of, I will give my memories. Yeah, my father gave me those early memories.
Yeah.
And that, but for people like that, even going to watch Northern Ireland, Tommy Jackson, I'm becoming a Glentoran manager, Brian Hamilton, Tranmere. When I look back, a lot of people who I went to watch become part of my life, whether it's a manager, coach, friend, whatever.
No, I actually I went to Jim Boyce's dinner the other week, 2 weeks ago, and I got to meet Pat for the first time, and he's such a lovely fella.
Yeah.
But it was still like, it was a bit strange, because you're meeting him, he's still got the luscious hair, and you're saying, go out, cry for her like that.
No,
to be honest,
but that's his, he'll tell himself, you know, I was going to say words, it's waving him goodbye, but it's not really. No. But that's his, there's times when with him, you have to make sure it is set.
It's right.
Because that's how people
remember
him. Yeah, but as I say, what a man. The bit I love about him, as I say, is but when he's in the car, he says, and then the outside bit, I always find when people ask him the questions, the real diplomat of Pat Jennings. You know, so Pat, Messi and Ronaldo, who would you pick as the best player I don't know, because Pat's always the answer will be. It's, to tell you the truth, they're both two great players. It's just whoever you prefer. And I thought that was just his lovely,
Fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, lovely answer. And another wee story I have from him is only happened in the last sort of year. We Down syndrome lad I take in the wee disability football. It was his, I think it was his birthday. And I remember it was a Friday night, and I'm in our house about 8 o'clock, and I messaged him, Pat, do us a favour, we quick video, do it whenever it suits you. I'm not exaggerating, within half an hour, we video was back.
Brilliant.
Now, Pat Jennings was not sitting in his house in Hertfordshire in his Spurs tracksuit on a Friday night.
Yeah.
He went and got changed and done it and sent it on.
Yeah. But then again, I think that's testament to what you have probably offered to Pat. Do you know what I mean? He wouldn't do that for anybody. So that probably shows the impact that you probably had in Pat for him to think, I'm
well, I suppose there's a little bit, but it's funny you say it.
Must say a lot about you.
Yeah, I don't even look at it like that. I was just so delighted because it made...
I made that wee boy's day or his whole life probably.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got this message. But
yeah.
I think about it the other way. Maybe it's because of the person that you are more so than Pat. Just he's not going to fill a tracksuit on for me. He's only met me once, and I was kind of for his her.
Yeah. You might have left an impression. That
I didn't want to wheel mine back, or I'd be looking at my wing backs. But yes, Kieran Donaghy pretty much. He cut me down. He said, "Listen, there's
no chance.
I would have genuinely no chance." And I was like,
okay. I find a lot of people, because we're very close, will always come through me to get them out, and I just say to them, "There's bits now I've got them to do things."
Yeah.
But I've said certainly like, for here, no chance.
And that's one of the things I was looking at, going, who could I think of? And I thought about Kieran, I thought about Mal. I was like, what an unbelievable career. And as soon as he just read, going, mate, genuinely, you have no chance. I was like, I'm not going to hassle you, but fair enough. Like, it's for some people, and this is what I've got to learn is, not everybody likes to be in front of the limelight. Nobody.
Yeah, he never was, and then you've got to respect.
You got to respect it, 100%.
The person. Yeah. We're fine on the other side of it. I know I can talk, but if you had Big Jerry here.
Exactly. There's
Big
other
Jerry
people.
Burnett.
Yes.
Yeah, and the stories are magic.
Phenomenal. Same as Jim Magilton. He's another one.
Absolutely.
Hopefully Jim will be on at some stage. But
brilliant.
Love talking.
When talking about the Irish League, how good's he been?
Incredible.
For the Irish League.
It's needed. People like that. Like one of the things that, and you hate to go on because we could sit here all night, but you talk about management, you talk about people who are in the league. The stick that David Healy gets, you'd rather David Healy in the league than David Healy in England or in Scotland. So appreciate what he's done. He's won numerous titles over the last couple of years.
Yeah. I know a lot of time for Jim. Good coach, good manager. Obviously a funny guy.
He's funny
too. And and to think of it, when he was in first, they weren't really having it.
They weren't, And there was a lot of pullback, wasn't there, about it? A lot of animosity about it. And I'm sitting going, like, just give the guy a chance.
I remember meeting him when he was just in. I remember saying to him, listen, once you hit the ground running, everyone looks after itself. And he did.
And that's the thing. I think that's the thing with players as well. When you used to think back on, he's useless, and the player comes in, scores 4 in the trot, and you're sitting going, he's the best player on the planet.
Correct.
Just opinions.
Yeah, all about opinions.
Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. We could probably go on and ramble on all night, but I feel like I can't keep you here much longer because it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We finish on hugs.
Oh, lovely.
So,
yeah, get a big hug.
Thank you very much. Oh, appreciate it. Oh, appreciate it a lot. And you know what? Before we go, I was talking to Mum the other day, and I always remember as a kid that you had a caravan in Ballycastle.
Correct.
And we used to go down in the summers, used to let us use the caravan. Mum and Dad used to take us down. I think it was like Silver Cliffs or somewhere like that.
Yep.
And my brother told me that we burnt the caravan down. And that's why we were never back in it. Is that right? So I was speaking to my man all the other day, and I said, Jimmy Heath's on the thing. And I was like,
well, I asked him about the
caravan. And about the caravan. Remember we burnt it down? She's like, what are you on about, you header? And I was like, he told me for years that we burnt Seamus' caravan down and we can never go back. Yeah. So for years I thought we burnt your caravan down. So I thought I'd tell you.
Yeah, and unbelievable. And sometimes when you're younger and somebody says something that just stays with you, and it's not maybe the years, because the one I wanted to show you was the one about the pro license.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if you did. Sometimes I think, I'll not say it because they'll not remember it.
Yeah.
But I remembered it, and as I say,
no, I remembered it. And that was That was the Belfast. That was one of the Belfast matches. We Jordan Stewart and stuff playing it. I think there's a couple of others. Joel Cooper might have been playing it as well.
That's why we've been funny. Not say I respected you anymore, but when I think of you, I always think, what about the time you made us look good? You were on fire that day.
I wish I continued that for my career, but sure. Sometimes you hit your peak early.
Yeah, no, fair play to you. I mean, I looked at you over the years just when you had the injuries, you know, would it, people come back as positive as you?
Yeah.
And been out for so long, like it's fucking
dreadful times.
Yeah.
And to be honest, people say to me now, how's it getting on? How's the knee? And I go, well, it's good now. The knee's all right, but I've been tremendously lazy this time. And I think that all comes from the fact that I'm not in the team. So I turned down the idea of going back to Balmain for the year. And that's probably the biggest mistake.
What age are you now?
31.
Right, still young.
So I came out for the year thinking I'd get a break. I needed a break from it. Where in hindsight, I probably still needed the club to motivate me to get me back. So the rehab hasn't went probably as quickly as what it should be. So I'm behind and I have been lazy. So,
but then,
tough it up. But I've had a lot of time with a child. Do this. You know, so.
Personally, if I were you or was advising you, I'd be saying to look at something else.
Yeah.
You know, the injuries you've had. Touch wood, like I always said. I can't remember. I always cried at myself, you know, be the fittest, do the extra, do everything right. Now, I think sort of, but I've been very lucky. But you seem to be just injury-wise.
Stupid. My dad would just say you're just stupid.
Yeah.
Because I would run into the wall. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes I would rather.
Although you did have a wee period there one time when you would have been worked hard, doing well. Oh, away for a holiday for a month.
You don't need to bring that up.
All right.
A lot of people do bring that up.
That's just what I know. I also
But yes.
Me, where's
just like yourself. Unfortunately, you got to go live the life and play football. I just had mine for a 6-week period. And then that caused me to be fat whenever I came back.
But again, I find my salaries between like 5 o'clock and 6. I'm on my phone. First time I look at. No, you might be surprised. One of the first teams I look at, Stranraer. That's why I love it in our country when people going, who do you support in Scotland? Well, who do you support? They're waiting for me to say Celtic, whatever. Rangers. I go, Stranraer. Who are they? I go, best team in Scotland. Why was it? Played for Belfast schools when I was 10.
You go across. Yeah.
And we played on Stranraer's pitch. And then one of the nice wee bits of football happened one time when Ben was playing for Cliftonville. Pre-season, played Stranraer. So I took my dad over in the boat. And not saying we're sitting like two Cheshire cats, but two of us, me and my dad, sitting watching your son play for Cliftonville against Stranraer. Just wee touches,
memories.
Wee memories like that. And you couldn't beat it. So say, I look at that and then you look at your old teams and just that sort of way. What I'm loving now about BBC Sport, because you go on the scores are everywhere. Yeah. So now I'm obviously looking at my Finnish teams.
Yeah.
You know, looking at that and.
So you're two into it. I actually, at the minute now, I've done a lot of comedy stuff, a lot of media stuff, and I'm enjoying the idea of learning something new. Since this, it's given me the idea that that's probably an area I want to go into. And as I say, I've got good guidance, but I've now been able to get that. And the buzz comes back to you when you're in
how I see it, you're out there now.
Yes, you have to know. As you say, you have to open your own doors, step through them, and let people know that you're willing to do.
Although you eat me big time, you cost me a lot today. Again, just sort of doing no more. I've jumped in and out of so many wee bits, but I find, well, going somewhere, going to a wee podcast, next thing you lose connection, whatever. So there's today. I didn't realise the big boy Bates was from Newcastle. I thought he was a southerner.
Yeah, Guy Bates.
Yep.
So I thought he was from down south.
I know that.
And he talked to me and told me he's in Newcastle.
And then I was listening to the Andy one and went to myself, I can't believe he hasn't given me a mention. Don't joke with me. And then I went on, and then next thing he come up and all of it. But it's all the journey of life.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's fun for me.
Yeah. Because I remember when I again, boys looking about at work, coaching and all that, I'm a great believer in touch football. Throw them in.
Yeah.
You know, not say sink or swim, go in and do it. But I always remember, and I forget which one it was, either Andy phoned Cars or Cars phoned Andy. The first time I sent them to the school coach, I'm going to do this one, I'm going, so what do you do? So there's a lot of footballers who've been involved in a lot of sessions, but a lot of footballers do not take it in.
Yeah. Because you're too focused on doing it.
Yeah. Like even now, great thing I always do, even at distillery, if I was doing the warm-up tonight, right, while moving about, my wee one is, right, give us an exercise each, no repeats. So you give me that flick, heels, whatever. You get down to about 6 or 7. I can see boys.
Like,
I don't.
You took my one.
Yeah. I see we don't have one. Make something up.
Yeah. I always loved the simple stuff, and we done it with Tommy Breslin used to do it, and it was O'Grady.
Oh yeah, Grady says her.
And I loved that. And I always thought if I ever went into management, I would take from him certain things.
Yeah. Well, all that, you know, has all come back now.
Yeah.
It was 3 weeks short. Like when I did the pro license, I forgot that one other one didn't mention was Scotty Young, because we mentioned Tommy. The other thing I took from that course, we maybe ran on a Sunday, and on the Saturday, Cliftonville got beat, Glentoran got beat. Scotty Young used to come in and he'd be
devastated,
wanting to wreck a place.
Yeah.
You know, and fall line. Tommy, and I said, Tommy, be 3-0 yesterday. How come you're so chilled? Said Jimmy went in. Yes, I was annoyed. We had our chat. I put it to bed. Now we've moved on.
Yeah.
I remember looking at him going, that's a very good way.
Phenomenal man manager.
Oh, yeah, oh, brilliant.
That's
now, he did have players.
He did.
He had some team.
Absolutely.
But yeah, one of the best I've seen for he can be, I mean, in the room here with different people and
you're
different
walking up.
Going on.
He was the first person that I'd came in contact with where he'd have took you out of the session and walked you up and down the pitch, just talking to you.
Correct.
And then right in you go.
Yeah,
and
no,
then going, strange.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people realise what he did in life. You know, like his job, like he would have been over maybe 50 people. So he's managing people in the ordinary day life.
Yeah.
So to come into the football field, obviously he's brought that in as well. And that. But yeah, what a
man.
Yeah, again, it's like JFK, Princess Diana, Tommy Brett, when you got the message or the call, you know, coming back and being whatever. Whoa.
What a legend.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good way to probably end this.
Yeah.
Talking about somebody like Tommy, you know.
Yeah.
But yes, good times. O'Grady. If I ever make it to management, I'll bring you as a coach.
Simon says.
We'll do O'Grady.
Yeah, but that's a lot of it, you know. It's all and opposites and all. It's getting players
thinking.
You know.
Yeah.
Because even the same friend, obviously we Colin at Liverpool first team, you know, at times I would say, what are you doing tomorrow? He said, for fuck's sake, Sammy, you'll be doing better stuff for me. You know, It's just, again, people don't realise even the top professionals, they all, you know, just ordinary guys.
Yeah.
And want to be tested and challenged and love all the wee
fun stuff.
We fun stuff, and we follow what you want. We silly things. And you'll see even when you do that as well with them, how competitive they are. And that.
Well, listen, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Hopefully this isn't the last time we see each other for a period of time, but yeah, and maybe I'll have to come look in your black book for guests. So I'll be knocking. Join us next week on the On the Spot Football Podcast for yet another fantastic guest. I hope you enjoyed this one. I certainly did. See you soon.